On-screen, boy meets girl. There's a whirlwind romance followed by a trip to the altar. Then they live happily ever after. That's Hollywood. Then there's real life. Relationships aren't that easy when they aren't based on a script. So today on Great Day Houston, we're giving you the lines you need to successfully play the role of a happily committed couple.
Traveling in and outside the loop from Memorial to the Medical Center. Information you want to improve your day and make your life better. Live from the Channel 11 studios, it's Great Day Houston. And now, your host, Deborah Duncan.
Good morning and welcome to Great Day Houston. We've talked about divorce on this show before, but today we're talking about how to keep it together. Over the past few years, it looks like people on average are waiting longer to walk down the aisle. Most women marry at about the age of 29, men age 32, and that may be a good thing. To help us figure out how to keep our vows, please welcome our expert panel, relationship coach and author Dr. William July, psychotherapist Jo Rapini, and relationship expert and author of How to Heal a Painful Relationship, Bill Ferguson. Also, two married couples, Joel and Angie, and Janique and Corey. Welcome. All right, to our panel of experts, let's just start off with how the very top of the show started, and that was Hollywood, the script. A lot of us write a script when we're little bitty of how our mate is going to be. The problem is we don't give them the script also, and when they start speaking offline, we're like, whoa, 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 that's not the way you're supposed to be acting.
Yes. Well, the thing that's in relationships that's so important is to treat the other person in a way where the other person feels loved. That's the thing that's so important. And the key to doing that is to be able to accept the person exactly the way the person is. So our job, if we want to have a if I want my relationship with you to be great, I need to make sure you feel loved. So what I do is I do that by telling you the things that I love about you, that I appreciate you, that I acknowledge you, tell you things that I'm thankful for. That's the best thing for creating the experience of love.
And Mary Jo, you say accept the person the way they are. Pretty much in the first year of a relationship, if not the first two, we're on our best behavior. We're not going to let those flaws out.
Yeah, well, I think it actually shortens. I think that's why everybody says our first year was our worst, is because what happens is after about 2 months, you think, okay, I got him. And then all of a sudden, your real behavior starts coming out. And that's when people go, who is this person I'm sleeping with? Like, they're nothing like I thought they were going to be.
And then, William, we have to separate fantasy from real life.
Absolutely.
You grow up in a household that sometimes you emulate what you saw between your parents, not really knowing what it took for them to keep it together. And then sometimes, especially in a very dysfunctional family, you have a tendency to say, well, this is how my life is going to be. And you write the whole script yourself without the other person in mind.
Absolutely. And you come in, and this is why therapy is so important a lot of times, because people come in with these preconceived ideas. Sometimes they're fantasy ideas, and sometimes they're really, as you said, dysfunctional. You've got to get in there, you've got to deal with reality. So you've got to give yourself a major reality check about what marriage is really about, which is at the basis of marriage is a very strong friendship. And you've got to like yourself enough to even be able to give. So you've got a lot of work to do before you say I do.
Yeah, very powerful. You said you have to like yourself enough to be able to give. And we'll talk more about that during the show. But first, let me turn to our couples. You two have been married how long?
25 years.
20. Okay, that's yes. But that's not to say that over that 25 years that everything was just perfect and like a fairy tale.
No. Well, in the beginning, it was a little, we'll say, stressful, and but then as the years go by, it's become easier and easier. Because I was talking to Dr. July earlier, and it's the thought that goes into why would, after all these years, I want to do things that would purposely tick her off.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that I still don't do that. But,
but not on purpose.
But occasionally she'll remind me, why are you acting like an idiot? And, and that snaps me back into reality.
I'm very honest. And Angie, in the very beginning, what did you think marriage was going to be like? Because a lot of times women, we have this kind of, my Prince Charming is going to suit me away, all the little romance books that we read and the fairy tale stories that we see. What did you think it was going to be, and what was the most difficult part?
Well, I think the most difficult part is, when you're dating, everything's different when you first get married, comparing to that. And so I think the first year, like you said, everybody thinks it is. It's pretty rough because
my first year was great. It's like, oh yes, and oh no, after you, no, sweetie, after you. Oh, he brought me flowers every day and the whole bit, and then they stopped for some reason. He says the only reason why they stopped is that where I used to live when we were dating, there was a flower shop in between my house and his. He goes, it was all about convenience, sweetie. It had nothing to do with anything else.
Well, we did all that. I mean, there was the romance and there was the getting used to one another, but in that getting used to one another, oh my gosh, they have that habit or they do this thing or that, that really ticks me off.
Yeah, squeezing the old toothpaste from the top to the bottom.
And getting used to living with each other and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's what we were talking about, getting rough. We never really had any blowout arguments to where, we were going to walk out the door, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was just getting used to another person living right there with you.
And when you woke up, they were still going to be there.
Right.
And then the next day, and the next day.
Well, and that's, we made the commitment from the very beginning. Right. Divorce was not going to be an option. Mm-hmm. Now, murder, maybe. just kidding. Don't print that. Don't print that.
You just know if anything ever happens to her, you are on tape is what we need to go ahead and say. All on tape. We'll get you a copy. Okay. Janique and Corey, you've been married for how long?
We've been married 3 years.
3 years.
We made 3 years of March 5th this year.
Yeah. All right.
I had to squeeze that one out.
Yeah, I had to get that one out there. But there had been a marriage before for you.
Yes, there was.
And the reason why that didn't work out, do you think, is what?
I was much younger the first time that I was married, and
how old were you?
21.
Yeah, that's tough. And I mentioned earlier that people are waiting a little bit later to get married, and it's really a good thing because 21 is you're still figuring out who you are.
Right.
And when we talk about the divorce rate being 50%, a lot of people say that's misleading because you're avraging everything in there. It's the younger ages where it's much higher percentage of getting divorced. So to wait a while is a good thing. You feel like you know what you did wrong the last time, but you're trying to still figure out in your marriage because you've had some issues in your marriage.
Oh, we had a lot of issues in our marriage. We was like actually the opposite of this couple here. We got married. We kind of already had a few issues going on, but
issues like what?
We couldn't. My wife didn't actually feel like a priority, and I must admit there was some things that I did kind of put on the back burner about, and I think as a man didn't quite focus on it, just had a different outlook on it. I'm like, well, I'm marrying you, so naturally you're a priority.
Right.
I guess that's that logical thinking.
That's it. That's good. Now moving
right.
on. Yeah. So, you're here, aren't you? You got my last name.
Well, that's kind of
you
how
got a ring too.
So, with that, she's consistently said, I don't feel like a priority in your life. And we went ahead and did the thing, got married, had a great time. And even on the honeymoon, we kind of had a little altercation on the honeymoon. And it was kind of like, this is all about to go downhill. But as this couple here said, that we also made a vow that divorce wasn't an option. Well, actually, merely those were just words because I done left 3 or 4 times, packed my bags. My wife helped me pack my bags, So we've been on the roller coaster ride, and just this past May, actually we filed for divorce. We were going to be divorced May 21st, and a good friend of mine had emailed me Mr. Ferguson some information about Mr. Ferguson, and I presented it to my wife, who wasn't talking to me at the time, who constantly kept the shotgun loaded, and I said, hey, let's go check it out and see what happens. I think his turnover rate was 20%, 15-20% of couples that came to see you stayed married. I thought that was a high number, speaking for us. And
well, and the thing is too, I think too many times we'll pull that trigger and go on. And I know couples who have come to see each other like a couple years later and go, you know what? Why didn't we just talk that out?
Right.
So it's commendable that what you guys did is put the brakes on it for a second and said, you know what? Before this thing is final, let's go and let's see where we're going wrong. So where were you going wrong, do you think?
You want to answer that, babe?
Where do we start? How long you say the show is?
Was it expectations or was it what you brought into the marriage? And a lot of us bring in some of our own junk into the marriage.
I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think it was expectations as well as luggage. And I thought I had like maybe a little wallet full of problems, but come to find out, I had a busload full of problems.
Move up the van line, right? Come on in. And so you're sorting through those things. What was the moment for you that you both looked at each other and said, okay, let's stop this divorce and let's try to work this out?
that was when we went to see Mr. Ferguson, and I think resolve the conflict.
Stop the conflict.
Stop the conflict. We went
Was
to
it
that
workshop?
class.
Yeah, because if you don't stop that conflict, that wedge gets so big that you can't get back together at some point, the point of no return.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk more about the techniques that you used with them, and they're staying with us. When we come back, the art of communication. You may say one thing, but somehow your spouse hearing something else. We'll talk about that third ear when we come back. And later, the difference between sex and intimacy. Yes, there is a difference.